is a media personality. He is a podcast host. He's got various podcasts out there. He is a Buffalo Bills fan. He's the co-owner of Fight Bananas. Please welcome onto the show, Dave Van Auken. How you doing, Dave?
Doing good, my man. How are you?
I'm doing phenomenal, man. Thank you for joining me today.
Anytime, brother. Let's do this often. Hit me up. Let's go.
For sure, for sure. Well, Dave, since it's the first time you're on the show, can you just take a minute, man? Let the audience know who Dave Van Auken is, because to me, I've I've mentioned this to a couple of buddies. You're one of the brightest sports minds I've had the privilege to speak to, man. So can you just let the audience know a little bit about yourself, man?
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, we gotta talk more often, man. You're flattering me way too much, bro. Hey, we created Fight Bananas around 4 or 5 years ago. We're really pushing the brand. It's a media outlet. It's not just a podcast. It's not just a Facebook page. We do it all. There's multiple podcasts and different, social media outlets and of that nature. And yeah, we cover a lot of events, that we cover UFC and the PFL and Bellator, bare knuckle, and anything in between. We love our regional shows. Kind of getting into a little bit of the commentating side of it. I really like that a lot. That's probably a weird thing. A couple years ago, I had zero idea I would ever do. And now I don't know. I don't know how far I can take it. Just 2 weekends ago, I did it for UFC Fight Pass for the first time. Got some cool, fun stories about that. But don't know what's next. Mike Cuddles with Jillian the Savage Robertson, Banana and the Bee podcast with my girl Taylor Starlin, Bed and Bananas with Ryan Quinn and Elle Wagman, and of course the Dave Van Auken show. So content's king, my man. Content's king.
Yeah, man. Well, shout out to all of them. So I know you. So I was going to start a different way, but you mentioned about commentating, right? You've seen a lot of talent, right? And I've gone to other shows, kind of like the smaller shows, the smaller promotion stuff that are growing out there. They're not like full-fledged PFL or UFC, but you see a lot of talent there, which is something I really like. Were you commentating during the Bo Nickel fight? I just can't remember, because I remember that voice sounded so familiar.
Yeah, both Bo Nickel's amateur fights I commentated. And then, so his last amateur fight I commentated, and then he had one pro fight, right? I think
he did
one pro
under
fight,
a minute.
I commentated that. It was me and Brock Weaver. And it's wild, man. I always say this. So podcasting, right, or even just talking or asking questions or media scrums at PFL, those to me are very... You got a minute window, and it's a back and forth thing. You kind of know what you want to go next. Commentary, it's crazy. It's easily the hardest thing I do. A red light is on for 3 or 4 straight hours, and you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen in the fight, so you don't know what you're going to say. You don't know how it's going to happen. Is it going to be a boring fight, a technical fight, the greatest fight ever, a 1-second knockout? You never know. So, like, a lot of the things you just can't pre-plan. It's all organic. It's all on your feet. It's all quick. And even on that, so the show was about Bo Nickel. We were there for 3-4 days. Everyone was talking about Bo Nickel. I had big media outlets hit me up. Hey, can you get something with Bo? All this stuff. So the show was about him, but I didn't say the line. He knocks out the guy 35 seconds. He's supposed to out wrestle him, all that, but he knocks him out. And then the first thing that pops in my head is like, welcome to the Bo show. Like, that was just it. So you just never know what you're going to say. And it's pretty cool. Yeah, like, he's going to be one of the best UFC middleweights maybe ever. And I commentated his first professional fight. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And so the reason why I ask is because, as we're seeing these athletes, come up, because I always tell people it's very easy for you to say, oh, Kamaru Usman's going to be great. Once you've seen him like 4 or 5 fights in the UFC, obviously he's great. It's about seeing talent before. And I think, we've had the privilege to see some athletes. I think, when you saw like Juliana Miller, you said that she was going to be a beast, and she stood out. Easily stood out. We're talking about Bo Nickel, the presence that guy has. We saw him obviously on the Contender Series. He'll be back there. They want to give him the contract. We already know. You've already seen it. The next big thing with me was watching Ian Gary, come out when he was fighting in Ireland and just making his way up there. I had seen him fight against a couple guys there. I thought he stood out to me. I told him, like, whoa, you just see it, right? It's very special talent. Is there somebody else that people should be on the lookout that doesn't know, that may not know exactly? Maybe I'll just off the top of your head, Dave, anyone that you've seen that people should pay attention to?
That's a great question. It's actually probably one of my favorite things to do. And as the longer I do this and the higher I get the steps and all that stuff, I still love the regional scene, especially in Florida. I'm such a Florida guy. I commentate for Island Fights, which is a they get people from all over the America, but it's very sometimes, they can get a lot of talent in that region in the panhandle of that sorts. Kind of funny, I don't know when you're going to drop this, but literally last night, my guy SD Dumas, I literally have called 10 of his fights, amateur and pro. He did the damn thing last night. He got the contract. He's one to watch. Man, that's a good one. I love those questions too. There's a couple. One name that keeps popping in my head, and I'm such a homer, and that's who I am.
No.
My girl Elle Wagman. She's 5-0. She's down there at Coconut Creek, American Top Team. She's fought on Fight Pass numerous of times for FAC. She's fighting again in October. I think she's an absolute stud. And just being around American Top Team, that will only elevate her game. Her fiance is Grant Dawson, an undefeated UFC lightweight. That's only going to elevate her game. She's a stud. She knows her thing. Another one, I was with her just this past weekend at Jackson Wink, is Lydia Warren.
Okay.
Remember Lydia Warren's name. She's 1-0. She fought for Jorge Masvidal's Icon FC. She's a monster, man. She's at Jackson Wink. She trains daily with Holly Holm and Michelle Watterson and so many other girls there. And then, of course, with all the guys, there's a ton of talent in that gym. It blew me away. Like, you always think of Jackson Wink in Albuquerque, like this, infamous gym. It was cool. I was there for 2-3 days, met a ton of people, saw Terrence McKinney, hung out with him and stuff of that nature. It was a good time. Remember Lydia Warren's name. Stud.
I got two for you here. I got Tracy Reeder, who's 6-0 out of Oklahoma.
Yep, I know him. Okay.
Be on the lookout for him. And Isaac Primetime Moreno. Isaac is from the Rio Grande Valley. He's 4-0 as a welterweight. Phenomenal. Okay. He just had, I believe, a couple weeks ago, his biggest test to date. He fought another gentleman that was 4-0 and undefeated in his amateur career, and Isaac dominated him. So those are two names to be on the lookout for. I always like giving people, again, just new names out there to keep an eye out that, go on to do great things. I always enjoy those kind of conversations. Now, let me shift to this, though, right? Because there's been a lot of media outlets overreact, or they make things bigger than what they seem, right? New rule for me on the show is there's no such thing as luck in MMA. Sometimes it just is the other person's night, man. There's a lot of unless maybe you get dropped and the ref stops the fight because the round ends. Maybe other than that, there's no such thing as luck, in my opinion. Usman versus Leon Edwards, right? The ending was wow, right? We could just leave it at that. Wow. I wasn't expecting it. To be honest with you, it wasn't the kind of fight that kind of keeps you on the edge of your seat. It was a lot of people, from what I hear, were just kind of waiting for the decision to come and go to bed and all that stuff. Guilty sometimes here, but that happened, right? And that woke me up right away. I could not believe it. I was stunned. What was your reaction, Dave?
So I got a funny story. I threw it on my podcast like a week and a half ago. So when it happened, so the night before UFC 278, that was right, 278.
Yeah.
I commentated on UFC Fight Pass in Biloxi, Mississippi. I live in Daytona Beach, Florida. That drives like 8 hours. It's Central Time to Eastern Time, so it's actually a 9-hour drive. So I was actually going to kind of stay the next day and maybe watch the fights or, travel slowly kind of a thing. Long story short, and this, I talk about it all the time. I'm a dad. So one of my kids weren't feeling good. So I had to get back. Life is busy. There's birthday parties literally every weekend. When you have 4 kids, there's someone has a birthday party to go to every weekend. So I had to get back from Biloxi. So I drove through the night. Me and my buddy, Eddie Martinez, we got in the car. We drove through the night from Biloxi, Mississippi, back home to Daytona Beach, Florida. It was awesome to commentate on UFC Fight Pass for the first time. It was awesome. It was kind of like one of those bucket list moments for sure. Yeah. So, of course, I know the pay-per-views that night, and I'm hopefully going to try to stay up. But like I said, I haven't slept now in 2 days. And also, let's just be honest, I didn't sleep that great the night before because it was my debut on Fight Pass, blah, 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 blah. So I'm watching, and I'm just listening to your last pod with AJ Fletcher. I'm watching AJ Fletcher's fight on my phone, kind of laying down on my couch, kind of trying to because I can't even my big TV's not even on. I'm just chilling because I know I'm faltering here. So I'm watching AJ Fletcher's fights, the middle of the second round, and I fall asleep. That's it. I fall asleep. And always on my phone, especially with Fight Bananas and our socials, I always have to turn my phone off. I put my phone on silent during the night because it's just ding, 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 questions people are going through. So that night, I don't put my phone on silent because I literally fall asleep of watching the fight. And all of a sudden at 1:44 a.m., whatever it is, I get call, text, message, and it wakes me up because my phone is just on fire. It's
Yeah.
like July 4th, my phone is just fireworks. And I'm like, holy crap. So I see Edwards. Oh my gosh, crazy Edwards. I'm like, oh my goodness, like Leon Edwards did it. So now I'm up. It's 1:45 or 2:15 a.m. I just had a good 4-hour nap, so I'm still feeling pretty good. And you know what I do? So like I got to kind of get on the ball of Fight Bananas, and all of a sudden like I just know that Leon Edwards knocked him out. I don't know any before. I didn't know that he lost for 3 straight rounds, and I didn't know that he looked pedestrian. I didn't know all this until I start watching the fights. The next morning, I order the pay-per-view and watch everything to kind of get all the details, right? But so like I in the moment, I don't know. I didn't see it live. I fell asleep, commentated the night before. But like I said, yeah, like it was wild to watch on my phone. And it was kind of weird. It was kind of cool and a different, unique thing because I knew that he won. And then all of a sudden, like you start unpeeling the banana. It's like, oh, wait a second, he was losing. Oh, wait a second. It was like the decision was over. Oh, wait a second. He won first round and he kind of took down Usman. And then of course, Rockholt's bleeding on Costa. Marab beat Aldo. I had Aldo. Aldo was one of my best plays the whole card. I lost that one on betting bananas. Mybookie.ag took my money. It is what it is. But so it was weird. I didn't see it live, but afterwards, and yeah, I was shocked. It was wow and more. And we talked about it. I really do think it was probably the craziest moment in UFC history. It's okay. So important. I know people say Conor to Aldo and then Holly Holm to Ronda. And there's some big ones, but going into those fights, it was Conor at that time. He was amazingly popular. He was getting polarizing, but like we didn't have Conor as the pound for pound best fighter in the world going into that Aldo fight.
I agree.
Same thing. Like with the Ronda, like everyone is so funny. I talked to Holly Holm about it. That's kind of weird. A couple of days ago at Bare Knuckle, she knew, everyone in the industry knew that Holm was probably going to beat Ronda. Everyone knew Holm was so high level on her feet.
Yeah.
And if Ronda couldn't just judo her down right away, like it was going to be Holly Holm's night.
Yeah, I agree.
But Usman is known as the pound for pound best fighter in the world for multiple years now, on a 2-3 year run, on one of the greatest runs ever. Dana keeps on putting him up to GSP and he's the best and all this. And is he going to be better than Habib and all that stuff? So everyone thought, and for him to be winning the fight that high level and towards the last minute of the last round get knocked out like that, I think it's the craziest moment in the history of the UFC. I do.
Yeah, I was stunned. My buddy and I know I'll talk to you sometimes about, gambling picks wise. My buddy kept telling me all night, man, what if this is the night that Usman loses though? What if this is the night? Right, and he didn't bet it, right? I told him, no, you're crazy. I believe Usman wins this. And so then when that happened, like I was honestly like falling asleep. It had already been a long day. PFL, I mean, we had so much stuff going on that day. PFL in the morning and stuff like that, same parlay picks. So I was falling asleep. I was still like staying up, but I was like, okay, come on, Kamara, let's get this over with. Let's get the finish. Let's get the decision. Boom, bed. So then when that happened, I just stayed, like my jaw dropped. I just stayed inside. Like literally my apartment was just quiet. You could hear a pin drop. Like like no one even reacted. Like it was just like, what the hell just happened? So it was insane, man. But I'm happy for Leon. He did it. He deserved it. Yep. Like I said about luck, I don't think it's luck. I think, there's a fight the entire way. That's why there's still time in the fight there. Just find a way to connect, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm so intrigued on what's going to happen next too. I know everyone's saying the trilogy fight right away. Sometimes it doesn't happen like you think it's going to happen. Everyone thinks the Matt Serra GSP rematch happened right away. It didn't. It was like a year and a half later. People don't realize sometimes an injury or timing, or if they want to go to London in spring and maybe something happens with Usman. I'm intrigued. I know people kind of get on me, and I am a Masvidal guy. I think if they do Masvidal Leon in England, in London, it would be one of the biggest pay-per-views in the history of the sport. It would be big. Huge.
But is it fair, Dave?
Life's not fair, man. Life
is not fair. I agree with you.
Dude, you're a better host than half those people in the UFC, but life's not fair. Sometimes it's who you know and what you know and the connections, and Masvidal's a big name, and if something happens to Usman, so hey, that's life. It's the fight game.
Yeah, well, I mean, like you said, something happens to Usman, the fight game, you never know. That's why, like, UFC 280, right, is a card that people are talking about and they're so like hyped for it. Man, I'm just staying as calm as possible, because it's such a massive card. But these things do happen, right? People do get
Right.
hurt, so it happens all the time. Now, let me shift to this. Now, let me go into the NFL here because you are a Buffalo Bills fan. I remember we talked briefly when we were doing media together. You're a Buffalo Bills fan, right? So, how do you feel, Dave? As now, you've seen the dynasty for the Pats happen. You've seen the Bills not get their moment, and now you witness the end. It's over for Bill Belichick. There's no Brady there. And now it's Josh Allen, your franchise guy, man. How does it feel to see the end of that New England dynasty, though, for you, man, as a Bills fan?
It's one of the best feelings ever as a sports guy slash sports fan, right? So yesterday, you just said it before we hit the record button, was my birthday. I'm 38 years old. So now everyone goes, why are you a Bills fan? So family grew up in New York of that nature, and my younger brother's a diehard Giants fan, and everyone's like, dude, like you should be a Giants fan. But I remember when I was in that age of 5, 6, 7, 8 years old and picking your favorite team, Thurman Thomas and the Buffalo Bills were going to the Super Bowl every year. Thurman Thomas was my guy, my favorite player. Red, white, and blue. I like their jive, and they were offensive. It was fun to watch. It was kind of very cool before. Yeah, it wasn't cool. Like before. So okay, all right. So when we growing up as a Bills fan, I was just like, it's ever since those Jim Kelly days. It's been 20 years. It's been 25 years. People don't realize how many J.P. Lossmans and Trent Edwards and Tyrod Taylors,
Ryan Fitzpatrick's.
Fitzpatrick, dude. There's been a million. There's been a million, and
JP
the
Lossman,
Patriots,
man.
of course. It stinks that the Patriots at the exact time has the Tim Duncan Spurs, or the greatest dynasty probably ever, and the longevity of it just kept on going and going and going.
20 years.
And then we draft Josh Allen, and I said, and all my buddies know this, when they drafted Josh Allen, I was upset because I wanted them to draft Josh Rosen at that time. Josh Rosen was coming out of UCLA. He was like the it quarterback, and I was like, man, Allen to me was this project, and I'm like, guys, Josh Rosen's kind of that sure thing. We got to go with him. They draft Allen. The rest is history. He's easily, already surpassed Thurman Thomas. He's my favorite guy. Last year was probably I really do think, most devastating loss in my sports fandom. That 13-second loss to KC, especially. The Bengals won earlier yesterday, the day before. So we were going to host Cincinnati in Buffalo. And then, of course, Brady lost. I'm like, this is our year. This is our year. But it was one of those things. And I talked to all the Bills fans. It's kind of like we needed that little bit more hurt because, the year before, we surprised a lot of people. And we were, I thought we weren't the favorite at any means, but we were a really good team last year. We were in that top 5 talk. But now going into this year as being the Super Bowl favorites, the MVP favorite for Josh Allen, and having that hurt from last year, this is it. This has been my favorite offseason. We signed Von Miller. Our team was almost, we didn't have any holes, but maybe a little bit was our pass rush. And then we get the best veteran pass rush glue guy, great locker room guy in Von Miller. Our draft, I love Dalvin Cook's little brother for FSU, the running back. I love that. James everything Cook. We did was perfect. And then, the cornerback, Florida Gator guy, I'm pumped. This is it. This is the best team in the league. Josh Allen plays 17 games. We're going 14-3. We're going 13-4. We're going to be the first or second seed. And I think this is the year. I think they win the whole damn thing this year.
I think this is the year they go to the Super Bowl. I'm not sure if they win the whole thing, in my opinion, but I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I think Buffalo's easily the best team in the NFL right now. I'll give you my quarterback ranking list here. Let me know if you agree here. I'll give you my top 5 here. I have Josh Allen, Brady, Mahomes, Stafford, and Burrow there. There's no Aaron Rodgers in my top 5. There's no Dak Prescott or Kyler Murray in my top 10. What do you think of those top 5 for now?
The 5 is good. I think you got Mahomes too low.
Mahomes too low. So I agree. People get mad at me. But here's the thing. What was that?
I was gonna say, anyone's top 5 and top 10, unless it's egregious, unless you have Matt Ryan in the top 5, you almost can't just, you can't. It's fun debates and you can pick and choose and all that, but someone can always have an angle. You can go all in right now with Josh Herbert. And I feel that. I can see it too. I think he's that great. But then on the other hand, the guy hasn't won one big time game yet in the NFL. So that's hard. And then a guy like Brady, Tom Brady's legacy and what he's done, he is, to me, the greatest football player in the history of the sport, probably even the greatest American athlete in the history. I think he's better than Jordan and LeBron, my guy, Jared Jeter, whatever you want to say. Brady's the guy, right? But going into this year, like, I don't think this is a hot take. I don't think he's a top 5 guy anymore. I really don't. I just think he's on the outskirts of those. And I think, if it's Aaron Rodgers or it's hard. I don't know who else off that top, but Herbert, it's tough. It really is. But Josh Allen and Mahomes to me is 1-2. They're 1-2.
1-2. So the only reason why I have Mahomes a little bit down is just because we're going to see him without Tyreek Hill. I trust the coach. Offensive line is solid, but they don't have a good running game. And even though I don't believe you need a good running game in the playoffs, you do need a good running game to get you through the regular season. It keeps your quarterback healthier. He's not having to throw 50 times. Your game flow, it's very important. But the Chiefs don't have an excellent run game. And the thing is, I think Brady's really good at making the most out of, some sub-tier weapons in this past. Not saying that he's got that now. He's got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin coming off an injury, Russell Gage. Brady's also really good at getting his running backs involved in the game planning here. And that's something that I feel like we've lacked with Mahomes, whether it's been Clyde Edwards-Helaire, whether it's, Ronald Jones struggling in the preseason. So with me, that's the only reason really why I put Brady above Mahomes, because we haven't seen Mahomes without Tyreek Hill like ever, for an extended period of time. So I think with Tom, it's kind of different. I mean, we'll see. I'm intrigued by what you're saying, though. He's not going to be a top 5 quarterback. It's very hard to debate right now because of all the distractions we've seen.
Yeah, like that O-line is busted, man. That O-line is busted up. The receivers aren't 100% there. Of course, there's no Gronk. Maybe we'll see Gronk in December in Tampa. You never know. But I don't know, man. Like I said, legacy. I'm a Tom Brady guy. I'm a Buffalo Bills fan, but I am a Tom Brady guy for sure. I all the respect, and he is that guy. He is the greatest American sports athlete of at least my lifetime. But going in, like, if you just have a fresh rankings, if you're just going in as a clean slate, and you're a general manager, and you're like, hey guys, here's the quarterbacks, and you're at 3 or 4 or 5. This year I do pass on Brady, and I do pick Burrow over him. I do pick. I probably even pick Stafford over him with the momentum of him winning the championship. Mahomes, Allen. Yeah. I probably do. Maybe even Herbert. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Oh, that one hurt. Herbert's talented. He is extremely talented, but it's like somebody once told me this, Dave, and we've seen sports for a minute here. Like someone told me the Bungles will always be the Bungles. I think the Chargers will always be the Chargers.
Yeah, find a way. Yeah, I get it. But Burrow did his thing last year, man. They're a trick, awesome throw from Stafford to Cooper Kupp. Dude, to me, the Bengals really blew that drive. Like, if they ran the ball, it was 3-1, I believe, or 3-2, third down and 2 with a minute and a half. You still have so much time. You got to run and get that first down. You got to get that first down and then get the momentum and then let Burrow throw to Chase and Higgins and all that. So I really think they messed up that drive. Aaron Donald was going ham. Von Miller was going ham. So they were very, very close to being champs. They were.
Did you pay attention to any of the 49ers headlines, with Garoppolo and what people are going to do with him? I don't know if you paid too much attention to that one.
Yeah. So I'm a UFC guy, right? I'm an MMA guy for sure. But my first loves were basketball and football and even baseball. My son is about to be 10 years old next month. His name is Colin. The big reason Colin Cowherd, I am a Colin Cowherd guy.
Hey, me too.
The volume guy with John Middlecoff. So I'm a big football guy. Yeah, I know Lance, the draft pick capital to go get him, and then Jimmy Garoppolo, they're going to try to trade him, the injury, and now they just signed him yesterday to be the backup. And I love that move. I really do, because I actually like Lance more than other people, and I think the Niners are going to be really good. I think they're going to be a top 3, top 4 team in the NFC. But
Niners are
Lance is
good.
young. He's you know, you don't know what you have until you have him in week 5. Of course, the guy could get injured. It's the NFL. And if the Niners would have just cut Garoppolo and just let him go, and if something bad happened to Lance, your season's kind of done. Like the Niners have done that multiple years with this not a good backup. And when you don't have a good backup in the NFL and you lose your guy, you're done. You're out. You don't have a shot. So I think now the Niners has guaranteed themselves a playoff spot, like with Garoppolo as a backup, because I don't think Shanahan will ever let San Fran go on a 3-game losing streak, a 1-5, because if that happens, I think they will slide in Jimmy to say, hey, get us back on the right course. Get us back on the course. Let's sit Trey Lance for a little bit, maybe get his mind right or his body right, maybe an ankle, something of that nature, and then maybe go back to the kid. But I don't know. I think the Niners made a brilliant move to bring him back, Jimmy Garoppolo.
So now, Dave, it's a very interesting point that you make here with Trey Lance. That's something that I think maybe not a lot of people thought about. What if he does struggle, right? What if he does struggle, though? The thing is, in what you're watching with sports and how confidence being such a big thing, though, do you think that's a bad move for them to pull Trey Lance and risk crushing his confidence? Because it's one of those things that I've seen, Dave, when you ruin someone's confidence in football like that, like in the end as a quarterback there, I mean, it really hurts what you do afterwards, right? People start trending downwards. I mean,
Right.
Is that viable to you?
Of course it is. Like, it's a legitimate point and all that. But like the other side of that is I'm also a big Pat McAfee guy. Love Pat McAfee.
Cool
and
guy.
they talked about Shanahan, and it was like a preseason game, and his record popped up. He's 39-42, and he just got like a massive new deal. And we all think, like, everyone thinks, I always hear that the Niners, the Chargers, and the Bills, if you just erase their quarterback, those are like the 3 best rosters. Their roster is awesome. And the roster has been awesome for a year or two. They just had a whole Deebo Samuel thing. They had to resign. Kittle's getting a little bit towards the end, and they got to resign Bosa soon. A lot of money coming up, right?
Yeah.
Like, so sooner or later, the NFL, not for long, you got to win. Like, you got to win games. And what Jimmy Garoppolo even did with the Niners last year, taking them to the NFC Championship game as an underdog and all that, like, that was a really good year for the Niners and a really good year for Shanahan. Of course, good year for Garoppolo. And they had Trey on the team. Like, you could have thrown Trey in right away and let him develop, or let him kind of throw the Lamar Jackson, or you try to let him pop like a Joe Burrow. Like, there's a ton of those young guys that do it. But like sooner or later, like, you have to win games. And the same thing this year. I think the NFC and where Tom Brady is and where the Bucs is, and it's not the AFC. The AFC are monsters. Like, you can go the Bengals or the Bills or the Chiefs. The Ravens are going to be back. It's just stacked, absolutely stacked. The NFC to me is wide open. A lot of people think the Rams are going to kind of like repeat and go back in the NFC Championship game. That doesn't happen a lot. A lot of those teams fall off, and if they get one Jalen Ramsey or one Aaron Donald injury, that's deflatable. The Bucs are the Packers without Devontae Adams. Like, I actually like the Packers more than most, but I think without Devontae, that's a problem. Like, the Niners could make a legit run, and if you have to do it with Jimmy, you got to do it with Jimmy. If they're hoping Trey's that guy, and they're hoping he is that stud, but
they're crossing
injuries
fingers,
happen, and also you just never know. Like, he could just not be the guy. Like, it does happen. It's a first-round pick, and he could just be okay.
Yeah. One of the things is, though, so a lot of people gave me a lot of criticism because as I started off like the whole show thing, I started going through like the YouTube channel, started posting random videos. One of the videos though that I got a lot of reaction from was when I was first starting out. It was Trey Lance, right? Being known as the best quarterback you haven't heard of, right? It was this guy from North Dakota State, had never thrown an interception, accounted for 39 touchdowns. But when I went in and I broke the tape down, I was telling people, this guy isn't as great as people are making him seem to be. He's averaging 10 throws a game at, sure, maybe a Division I program, but definitely at a smaller conference. And you've had guys like Carson Wentz who get criticized a lot. You got guys like Easton Stick, like North Dakota State wins with everybody. They really do. So, right. I mean, I don't know if this guy, and for the very few games that I saw, he struggled throwing the football. Yeah. His comfort zone was just running the ball. And you've seen, Dave, the NFL, it's not like that. Lamar's learning that, Kyler's learning that. When you take away that running element in some of these quarterbacks, though, it really puts a stranglehold on what you can do as far as ability wise. So I wasn't a huge fan of Trey. And people were, giving me stuff like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. He's very talented. He can throw the ball. And now we're here a couple years later, and that's exactly the concern that people are having.
Jimmy got hurt. It was like that mid-season. This is last year, week 7, week 8, week 9. I remember that Trey played against Detroit.
Yeah.
I think he went 1-1 or maybe even 2-0 in that spot. He didn't take over the job. He didn't win the job. So when Jimmy did get back, it went right back to Jimmy's team. So that's something right off the bat. And 2 is, we all know this. Jimmy was so banged up towards the end of the season, especially in the playoff games. A lot of people on that Thursday or Friday before that big playoff game against Dallas and then Los Angeles, the Rams, weren't even sure if he was going to play. And if Lance was 70%, 75%, 80% ready or of Garoppolo, you could have thrown him in there and almost done a ton of running stuff, a lot of Colin Kaepernick, Cam Newton kind of stuff, and almost kind of surprise them. And Shanahan's no, we'll take 55% banged up Jimmy Garoppolo to try to win this game. So I'm not saying it's everything. It's something. It's a little something. And I do like their plan of hey guys, this offseason we're going all in. We're going to support Trey. We're going to say, hey, you're the guy. We're going to get you ready. Throw it short to Devo. Let Devo do his thing. Give the ball to Kittle. Let him do his thing. The run game's going to be awesome. They got 3 running backs for fantasy football. If you're a fantasy guy, get all of them. They're all going to be good. So they want Trey to work. They want him to be awesome. He's super cheap for the next 3 years. They want him to be a stud. Let's see. We'll
Mac
see.
Jones, this is where I mean, where a lot of media overreacts. People with Mac Jones, same thing to me. He is the best rookie quarterback that's going to come out of there. He's going to kill it. Tell everybody, dude, he's in a better situation than Trevor Lawrence. I mean, Trevor Lawrence couldn't even trust what his head coach was doing when he was out and about, man. The Bears are kind of the thing with the Bears, right? You clearly, as we're seeing it now, I mean, they don't have no clue what they're doing as far as offensive line wise is concerned. You're going to see Mac Jones is the best version of Mac Jones faster than a lot of other quarterbacks there. I wasn't sold on Mac coming out of college, 3-7 against those winning teams, obviously rival of your Buffalo Bills there. When I see Mac Jones, I see a lot of, agree, disagree.
Oh, 100% agree. He's the 18th best quarterback.
Agree.
There's 0% chance he will be a top 10 guy. 0. He's never going to be better than that Kirk Cousin range. He's just in that Andy Dalton for Bengals, Cousins for the Vikings. He's in that math, and you could do worse. You could absolutely do worse. You could bust. You could be a Zach Wilson for the Jets. You could absolutely not work. But, I'm not afraid of him at all. And I have a lot of my older brother's a big Dolphins fan. And, being here in Florida, I've been to a ton of Dolphins. I'm not scared of Tua. I know I love Waddle. I think Waddle's a monster. Tyreek Hill's a monster too. The coach, he's kind of funny, kind of cool, funny, funky coach.
Seems like a kind of guy you have a beer with.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm not scared of Tua. Tua and Mac Jones, I'm going to say it right now. I'm going to jinx myself. We'll put this on a reel. They have no shot of beating Josh Allen in December in a big game. They got no shot. They are not those guys. DeMar DeRozan was good for the Raptors, and Paul George was good for the Pacers. But in the playoffs against LeBron James in his prime, they had no shot. Bro. Josh Allen's that guy. So I'm not scared of Tua or Mac. Bring it. I love it.
I like the Dolphins over the Pats, and I know people are last year, man, people hated me. Patriots fans hated me. They're calling me I'm not a real fan or anything like that. I got to give people unbiased takes here, and I thought Mac wasn't wow at all. There's no wow there. I thought 10, 15 years ago, Mac Jones probably works in the NFL. But now everything's so predicated on offense where I just told you right now, when you look at the final 8 teams that were in the playoffs last year, 5 of them didn't have a top 10, rushing attack. When you go to the final 4, only one of them had a top 10 rushing attack. And with the Pats, I mean, they really can't throw. They don't have great weapons. They can't really run the football as effectively. And that can only get you so far. I mean, even saw was that the December or November game against the Bills? It was 7-0 or something. Yeah. I mean, even then, Matt he made 3 throws, man. And so I question that with Tua, though, he's not guys that can make plays. You can throw a 5-yard slant and those guys could take it to the house. Yeah. So that's where I think I have Miami over New England there. I think New England's about a 7-8 win team, man.
No, I totally agree with that take. I think it's a good take. I think it's right on. Yeah, we have no idea what Belichick's doing with Judge and Patricia. It doesn't make sense. It's very weird. I don't understand how they don't have any guys on the other side. Like they don't have a top 10 tight end, top 10 running back. They don't have they don't have a top 40 wide receiver. Like they don't have
They
one guy. Like there's so many teams.
can't
Like
draft.
I'm not as big as a fantasy guy that I used to be, but like you look up at all these rankings, like Jamar Chase is a top 3 top guy. Then they have T Higgins on the other side. Like a lot of
Top
teams
10
don't
guy.
have one; they got 2 now. And even like as the Bills, dude, I'm a huge Gabe Davis guy.
Gabriel
Huge
Davis.
Gabe Davis guy. UCF. I'm just huge. He's going to be a monster this year. They got so many weapons. Like Buffalo's got 7 guys. Like we're
I
just going to
got
keep
Dawson
throwing out
Knox there
monsters.
too.
Huh?
Dawson Knox.
Yeah, Knox. Big sleeper. McKenzie's going to be a monster this year in the slot for Buffalo. Josh Allen loves him some Isaiah McKenzie. So there's a ton of weapons in Buffalo.
I was going to take a team I'm not as high on this year, and everyone is so high. There's the overreaction there. The Broncos, man. I don't know what to make of the Broncos here with Russell Wilson, because I mean, I think everyone is very quick to say, "Oh, it was Pete's fault. Pete." And sure enough, I'm one of those where I thought he made some really bad moves. The defense wasn't playing great. You had time to rebuild that offensive line, and you never really gave them true support. When you have a top quarterback, I mean, it doesn't hurt to ask the guy, "Hey, man, is there something you would like?" So,
Sure.
Russ left. Is it fair to put some of the blame on Russ, Dave?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Every single breakup, I don't care what happens. There's definitely blame on both sides. One side could have tried to help more or put the olive branch out. Every breakup, both sides deserves some of the blame of why they broke up. Everyone. But we were saying kind of off on the Broncos. 2 years ago, who won the Super Bowl?
2 years ago, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So a good up-and-coming team and then a really good veteran quarterback went to them. Last year, who won the Super Bowl?
The good old Rams. I keep wanting to say St.
So
Louis.
a very good team on the way up with the veteran quarterback came over. The Denver Broncos is a really good young team with the veteran quarterback come over. I like them. I think the Broncos are going to be really good. I just think, to be blunt about it, the problem is they're going to run into Buffalo in the AFC Championship game, and they're not going to be able to beat Josh Allen. But I like Denver a lot. I think Denver's going to be really good. Both sides, like they don't have a weakness. There's no hole there. They have a good running attack, a good run defense. They now have a good throwing attack and a good. Their secondary is awesome. Their secondary is really, really good. Yeah, it's a young coach, but like same thing. Sometimes I feel like, especially lately with Zach Taylor, like we don't know how good Zach Taylor is. Just Joe Burrow's that guy.
Yeah, I don't think Zach Taylor's
right. So I think Russell Wilson he's same thing. I don't know where you rank him. He's 7th, 9th, 10th. He's a top 10 quarterback.
He's a top 10 guy.
Also, he has a lot to prove. There's a chip on his shoulder. There's a Brady wants to get back at Belichick. Stafford wanted to get back at the Rams. Russell Wilson wants to get back at Pete Carroll. So he's so driven this year. I think the Broncos are going to be really good. Really good. 12-13 win team.
Well, see, man, that division is very tough, though. I think people are just labeling them as Super Bowl champs, or they're going to the Super Bowl. I don't think they get past Buffalo. Here's the thing, though. I question, like Brady and Stafford, they had solid wide receiver options, top tier wide receiver options. Look at Cooper Kupp, right? You look at Mike Evans, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy. I'm just not sold on the offensive pieces. Some of the offensive pieces, I question tight end. Brady had his blanket there. Stafford had McVay that could scheme him open. Veteran coaches, guys that did this with Arians or McVay. New guy, I don't know, Dave. You can talk me into it. This is something I'm open to get talked into, man. We're going to miss on something, Dave. We're going to miss on something. And I think this might be one of those things where a lot of people are just like overwhelming poor, where they're like, oh, the Broncos are going to make it. I think this might be the miss of the season here.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that'd be fun. I would love to, week 8 or week 10, we'll come back and jump on it. I think both those guys you just said are really good. I think both those guys are really good. You just had Teddy Bridgewater or Drew Lock throw it to him. Like now you got Russell Wilson. Like let's see Tyre Lockett and DK Metcalf stats. I bet you they're less than Sutton and Jeudy. And all those guys, Metcalf is a top 10 fantasy guy and everyone loves him. And Lockett's been a sleeper fantasy guy for 3-4 years. You had Russell thrown it to him. Like Russell elevates those wide receivers. Same thing with anyone in Green Bay, of course. But come on, Stephon Diggs was really, really good in Minnesota. But when him and Josh Allen connected, like he's everyone's top 3 wide receiver, and
top 5 guy.
These guys definitely they elevate. T. Higgins, like if T. Higgins was on Jacksonville, he would be T. Higgins. When Joe Burrow throwing him the ball, like he's a fantasy stud. Like they need help. The wide receivers, they need those guys throwing them the rock.
I agree. Russell Wilson can elevate that. For years I'd always take Russ over Aaron Rodgers. I still would. I think so. I'd run my team with Russ than Aaron Rodgers. I think with Aaron, though, there's a lot of drama, a lot of craziness. Right. He is a media personality, man. Aaron Rodgers is a media personality, man. I don't know what he hired on his PR team, man, but he's making headlines, whether for good or for bad. What do you make of Aaron Rodgers this year, Dave?
I think, all right, so I think the Packers are going to be better than what people think.
I agree.
I think Devontae is the best or second best wide receiver in the world, and that is a big loss for sure. But I think with them going heavy on defense and heavy on the run game, they're going to be so really, really great, like everywhere else. I think their defense is going to be top 5, top 7 defense. This team reminds me a lot of what New England used to be after Moss left. They had their team was so, A+ everywhere. Their defense with Hightower and they had Wilfork in the middle and all that stuff. Their defense was so good. And then the run game was so awesome. And then all of a sudden, like, you got Aaron Rodgers. Like, you have Brady. Like, Aaron Rodgers will make that third down throw. One game, Randall Cobb might be the guy. One game, Sammy Watkins might be the guy. Maybe one game, Lizard's the guy. Like, they will switch around. They did get a couple of those young rookies. Yeah, it's not going to be an MVP season. Like, his numbers are going to come way down. But I think it's the veteran, good coaching. He doesn't turn the ball over. They're going to run the ball great. They're going to play great defense. The division's weak as hell. Like, I know Hard Knocks is the greatest thing ever to watch on Tuesday nights on HBO Max. The Lions are still not going to be good, people. I'm sorry. They're not going to be good. The Bears stink. Minnesota's going to be solid. I think they're going to score some points. But Green Bay is going to win 10 to 13 games, and a lot of people don't have that. I think, like, Aaron will get the job done. They might even shock someone in the playoffs. Actually, win a playoff game. They don't win playoff games over there at Green Bay. They actually might do that this year.
Yeah, I keep flip-flopping back and forth between Green Bay and Minnesota. I do think Green Bay finds a way to win the division. I trust Aaron Rodgers more than I trust Kirk Cousins, man. I think nowadays what we're seeing, quarterback is a big thing. The last thing I want to get your opinion on is the good old AFC North, man. We got the Ravens here, we got the Steelers, we got the Bengals here, we got the Browns, man, the Brownies, man. Who do you think wins this division, man?
Ravens win the division. Lamar Jackson has a banner year. He has a pay me my goddamn money year.
I agree with you.
Huge. I like the Ravens a lot. I think the Steelers will be good. I'm not sure. I go back and forth with the Pickett and Trubisky thing. I bet you they start Mitch just as I feel like Pittsburgh's that culture and that older team and the Tomlin. I think they start him and then probably go to Pickett midseason. I think the Bengals are going to be good. It's going to be one of those the Super Bowl loss, everyone thinks they fall off majorly, and that happens a lot. I don't think they fall off major, but I don't think they have that magical great season. One injury, one setback. I'm not a strong believer, like we said earlier, on Zach Taylor. So I still think they're around. I think they're a wild card team or fighting for that playoffs, 9, 10, 11 wins. Pittsburgh is in that area, 8, 9 wins, maybe 10. It's Tomlin. They will win more than 500. The Browns are awful. Deshaun, crazy scenario. Don't even have to waste time with them. But I think the Ravens are that team. They're going to go 12, 13 wins, and they'll lose to Buffalo as well in the playoffs.
I think it's crazy how they pay Kyler and they don't pay Lamar, man. That's just something I cannot. I know Lamar wants the kind of contract that he wants, but it's tough, man.
It's all about the agent. And I know you probably know this. You probably talked about it on your show and stuff. It's about Kyler's agent and management group wanted him to get paid. Like they felt the urge to really get paid early. Maybe he's going to get injured. He's smaller, all that stuff. Lamar, because it is Lamar and his mom and all that, they don't feel the urgency. They're fine with not being paid this year. Like, if they wanted to, they could have put their foot down and said, you're going to pay me $231 million over 6 years, and that's the deal. And if you don't, I won't show up. Like, how is Baltimore not going to pay their MVP, Lamar Jackson? He's beloved there. He's a good guy. Everyone thinks he's a great locker room guy. If he did that, they would have to pay him. He did it. Like, he never put his foot down, maybe because he is actually too good of a guy and too good of a team guy. He never he never drew the line in the sand.
Yeah.
So he's kind of just floating. And a lot of people, even salespeople, right? Like, a lot of people they want the weekly check instead of the one check a month. Maybe that one check a month, if you kill it and you do your damn thing, it will be more money. But a lot of people like the comfort. They like air conditioning. They like to feel comfortable and say, hey, I got this weekly check. And a lot of NFL players, especially, they would be scared going into a contract year. And they were like, holy crap, like, what if I don't? Lamar's not. Like, Lamar believes in himself. He's always believed in himself. He knows how good he is. If he has a monster year, 10 teams, the Jets would pay him $300 million. Washington would pay him $300 million. If he was really an unrestricted free agent, what happened if even Pittsburgh? What happened if Pickett bust? Right, and he's not the guy. Tell me, like, as a screw you to Baltimore, we'll give you whatever you want. Like, it's he has the world as always, and then Baltimore is not going to let him go to Pittsburgh. They'll pay him $301 million.
I'm not a huge fan of conspiracy theories here, but I'll give you one here.
Woo!
Watch out. So a lot of people are talking about Tua, right? Here's the thing, and I think Colin has said this too, and I've worked with sales too. If you try hard to sell me on something, I'm not a believer in it. It makes me very skeptical. Like with Tua, everyone's, voicing Tua, and I think it's very good to voice voice confidence in your QB. I don't need to hear that about Josh Allen. I don't need to hear that about Brady or Mahomes. Brady just missed 11 days, man. I don't need to hear that about Brady. So conspiracy theory, I think, and I've been on this since last year. Watch Lamar to Miami, man. Tua's last year. Look at all the weapons they've got.
Yeah.
It might be a sales pitch to the next guy that they get. I think McDaniel's going to put his arm around Tua and give him a fair opportunity, which he does deserve. Tua's put up with a lot. But watch what happens if they realize that Tua is not the guy. Lamar's going to be available. I think that's intriguing, man.
Yeah, I like that. Hey, I respect that. I like that. That's left field stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would work money-wise because they're paying Tyreek Hill quarterback money, but
you got to make it work.
No, for sure. I think, me personally, I don't think Tua is the guy. I think he'll have a good season because the players are so damn good. But what if Tua gets hurt? Like, what if Tua gets hurt again? He's like always banged up, and he plays 8 games. They go 3-5 or 4-4 with them. Then you have a backup, and the backup goes 3-6, and they miss the playoffs. If they miss the playoffs, and Tua's kind of banged, and the coaches the coaches know they only get 2 or 3 years, and are you going to go all in back in with Tua again?
Sometimes you only get one.
Yeah, man, he's too small. He's too short. He's not athletic enough. Like, everyone says, like, a Drew Brees or even Russell Wilson. Like, those guys are like super outlier guys. Like, Drew Brees is the most accurate passer in the history of the sport. Played inside a dome with one of the greatest offensive coaches ever. Like, it was just a perfect marriage, and that's why it worked. Drew Brees wasn't the greatest thing ever in San Diego. That's one reason why they let him go. It's Tua's just not the guy. I'm sorry, Miami. He's just not the guy. He could be okay, but you can't win in the NFL with okay anymore. You can't. You have to be Mahomes, Brady, Rodgers, Allen. You got to be Burrow. You got to be now.
Well, last question of the show here as we're wrapping it up, Dave. We got Diaz versus Chimaev, Oliveira versus Islam, and Pereira versus Israel Adesanya. Diaz is obviously an underdog. Oliveira is an underdog, and Pereira is the underdog. Which one's more likely to hit, in your opinion?
Charles Oliveira.
I agree with that.
He's going to beat Islam Makhachev. I'm not going to say easy. I know, like, he's kind of, Oliveira's been on a run lately. Like, I'm going to make him go out in the first. He might. Oliveira sold me on that run. I think it's one of the greatest runs. I think it's even better than Khabib Nurmagomedov's run. This Poirier, Gaethje, Chandler run. That's one of the greatest runs I've ever seen in UFC lightweight history, and how he's doing it, how fast he's doing it. I think he gets Islam if it's standing, or gets him standing and then chokes him out. Of course, Chimaev will do the damn thing. Chimaev is going to smash Nate Diaz. It is what it is. I'm so intrigued with Pierre and Izzy. And I know I'm a strictly UFC guy. All my shows, predictions. We have our Bet and Banana shows. We'll make bets on it and all. that fight, like especially right now, I have like no idea. I really don't. I don't know how. I'm a huge Izzy guy. I think he's one of the greatest fighters ever. I think
Yeah.
he's the second best middleweight of all time. But Pierre has knocked him out, and don't know where his psyche is. He's so big. All these pictures of Pierre, he's like a heavyweight. And then he
Yeah.
gets down to 185 and he makes weight. And then he puts all that damn weight back on. I don't know. I'm so intrigued. That's Madison Square Garden. I cannot wait for that fight. But Oliveira will get the win. Bet on it.
We got a great year ahead. We got football. We got some monster UFC fights here. Dave, is there anything you want to let the audience know before we sign out here, man?
Yeah, man, just go to mybookie.ag, dude. Sign up, use promo code bananas, man. Go do that, make money. I love it. We have a great partnership with them. They do great things with us. And yeah, big things. Like you said, I can't wait to see where Fight Bananas is 6 months from now, a year from now, a year and a half from now. Can't wait to see what I'm going to do. Like I said, I got that commentary itch. Like that might be my thing. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, man, appreciate you. Your shows.
Yeah.
Loving it. I've been listening to it a lot more lately. So you got a fan in me, man. Anytime you want me on, let me know.
Appreciate it, Dave. Again, I appreciate your time. I know you're busy. Thank you so much for taking the time on this morning, man.
Awesome, brother. Later.